Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Life According to Nikki.
Are we kidding? Oh my gosh, I love that.
I would just like to start off with a short apology because I did not put out an episode last week and I did not inform anyone of that decision. Now, it was 4th of July weekend, so I just decided, I'm going to take a break, and I had friends in town, so I didn't want to be working on the podcast. But I forgot that there's a very good amount of people that listen to this and are invested in it, and I appreciate you. I love you so much. And I'm deeply sorry for the ghosting. So for those of you that reached out and messaged me, I am very sorry for the lack of an episode last week. In the future, now I know, I will make sure to let you all know when I decide that I'm going to take a little break. Now, my voice might sound slightly different. Maybe it's just me that can tell, but I have been sick for about 2 weeks now. I was really only sick for about a week, but I never really gave myself the time to recover. So my voice, hopefully it just sounds nice and sexy, but to me it sounds very congested and not fully myself. But I have things to say whether or not my voice is fully capable of doing so. This is what you get today. You get a little sick version of me, even though I honestly feel completely fine. But if I sound a little different, that's why. If you're a frequent listener, you know how these solo episodes go. If this is your first time listening to a solo episode with me, welcome. Buckle up, because it is just going to be a wild ride of all of the random thoughts that I have. It's just really an opportunity for me to air out any grievances that I may have, any insignificant feelings that I may feel overly passionate about. I just really need an opportunity to run my mouth, knowing potentially thousands of people are going to listen. You know? That really makes me feel good and brings me a lot of inner validation. So thank you for being here, and let's get started. Up first, as always, we have my recent watches. About 10 seconds ago, before I started recording this, I completed the movie Space Cadet with Emma Roberts, and I used the word finished very loosely here, all right? I did complete it, as in I watched the first scene and the last scene, but about 20 minutes into this movie, I decided that I was just gonna skip. The 10-second button was my best friend, and I just went skip the whole rest of the movie for everything past the first 20 minutes. I watched a couple things here and there, but overall, this movie sucked so badly. It was terrible. It really was. And I kept skipping to see if there was any sort of redeeming quality, but the acting across the board in this movie felt like a criminal offense. It was so bad. It had Gabrielle Union in it, and she was terrible. Everyone in that movie, besides Emma, I felt like was awful. Now, Emma was not great by any means, but when you have people that are that bad of actors next to her, it did make her look a little bit better. And I have seen her in other things, so I feel like I've seen what she's capable of, so I'm kind of giving her a benefit of the doubt in that way. But wow, this movie, absolutely do not watch. It's gonna be a 2 out of 10 on my personal scale, and I'll only do a 3 out of 10 on the public scale. I will not go higher than a 3 because that movie was an abomination. Take that off the watch list, okay? Don't do it. And that movie is on Amazon Prime. Make sure to avoid it on that platform. Next up on the flops, we have How to Date Billy Walsh, also on Amazon Prime. This one I got about 10 minutes in, and I gave up so fast. I wasn't even willing to skip to see what happened with this one. It was a no for me. The acting was terrible. The plot, no. It had me a little bit in the trailer, which is why I watched it originally, but I could not get past the cheesiness and also breaking the fourth wall, talking to me as an audience member. That always feels a little bit weird to me. You have to do that right if you're gonna do it, and they did it completely wrong. So that's going to be an absolute pass. 2 out of 10, my scale. I'll go maybe slightly higher, 4 out of 10 for public on this one, just because the guys in it on the outside, they look pretty cute. Couldn't tell you if they were cute in the show or not because, as I stated, I only watched a good 10-15 minutes of this before I gave up. But I have a feeling that, I don't know, maybe a preteen might like this a little bit. So, sure. 4 out of 10. But if you're asking me, I don't think anybody should be watching this. Switching now to Netflix, we have A Family Affair with Nicole Kidman, Joey King, and Zac Efron. Now this was surprising. This one really took me aback because I originally pressed play because I thought it was going to be a hate watch. I wanted to watch it to really be upset and then vent about it on the pod. That was my intention. I did not think I was actually going to enjoy myself. So, color me surprised, tickle me impressed, or however that saying goes, because I found it to be pretty enjoyable. Now, there were definitely some parts that I could critique, but Joey King did so good in this. And I actually really liked the mother-daughter dynamic, this deeper plot throughout the whole thing of her mom being able to have her own life. I really liked that. I felt like it was a new, fresh take and felt original. I will say there was a lot of Botox between Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron. Oh, wow. And also, just RIP to Zac Efron's old face. Listen, I put it on my Instagram, on my stories. I understand that it was an injury, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to that. All I'm saying is it is unfortunate that he had that accident. I don't love the new look, and then that mixed with the Botox, just not for me. But hey, I guess he's still in the acting world, so good for him. Overall, I liked the movie. I did. I don't know how to explain it. It was just funny. Liza Koshy was hilarious in it. I really liked her role. It felt like it had some deeper themes. It was not bad. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 on my scale. And you know what? I'm going to stick with the same score for the public. We're going to go 6 out of 10. I honestly feel like I would watch this again with other people. So maybe I should give it a 7, but we're going to stick with a 6. Jumping back to Amazon Prime, I watched The Blue Angels, which this is a documentary, real story of the Navy Elite Flight Demonstration Squadron. Yes, I did read that straight off IMDb just now. Remember a couple episodes back when I was feeling really stupid because I didn't know which branch of the military flew the planes? Turns out I didn't need to feel nearly as stupid as I did because the Air Force is not the only one with pilots. Who knew? Apparently every branch of the military has their own pilots. Why I never put that together, I guess we'll never know. I don't know, I don't really spend too much time thinking about the military, so I guess it's not all that surprising, and I am kind of stupid, so it's fine that I didn't know that fact, but I learned a lot by watching The Blue Angels. The fact that they are flying 13 inches apart. Just over a foot. I don't know what that is in the metric system, so don't ask. But in the American measuring system, it is crazy close, all right? They could die in these demonstrations, and people have. That's the part that blew my mind. People have legitimately died doing these demonstration events for the crowds. I will say it was very fun, enlightening. I feel like a family-friendly show. If you got anybody that's into pilots or flying in any way, I would say Blue Angels is worth the watch. If you have zero interest in that and, the military doesn't really pique your interest, it's not a must-see, all right? It was enjoyable. I had a good time. A lazy Sunday afternoon watching it. I learned a lot, Googled a ton of facts. I did learn the difference between the Navy pilots and the Air Force pilots and kind of their argument towards each other of who's better. From what I understood, the Navy pilots think that they're better because they're able to land and take off of ships on the ocean, which is very difficult apparently. And the Air Force pilots feel like they're cooler and better because they do the whole dogfight thing that we saw in Top Gun Maverick. Different arguments for different people. I don't really care. They both have demonstration groups. I've actually seen the Blue Angels way back in the day, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty sick, and I enjoyed the documentary. On my personal scale, I'm going to give it a solid 5 out of 10 because at the end of the day, it was interesting, but I still am kind of indifferent about it. And for public, we're going to go 6 out of 10. To sum it all up, Blue Angels, don't have to watch it, but if you do, it's a good time. Next on Prime, I also watched The Boys in the Boat. Man, I was really in a Prime mood, wasn't I? Normally it's Netflix, so this is kind of surprising. I had heard about this movie for a long time, and it had the same guy that was in Masters of the Air, the guy who played Bucky, Callum Turner. He's very cute. I really liked him. Overall, I enjoyed the movie, but there were so many issues that I had plot-wise. Just the pacing of it, the whole grandpa at the beginning and the end of the story felt completely unnecessary to me. There actually felt like there was a lot of unnecessary plot points that didn't need to be emphasized. For example, you have this scene where they're trying to work out the order in which the boys should be sitting in the boat to optimize their distance or whatever. And they keep switching people around, and then they are just at a loss of what to do. And someone says that maybe they need a different jockey. Maybe they need someone else in the seat that like yells at them. So they bring in this guy. They have no backstory on this person that they're bringing in, but he comes in and he's like yelled at by the boss. And he's like, if you pull any of the crap that you did before, you're out. That whole scene felt unnecessary because you didn't explain any sort of backstory. So I didn't understand why I was just being thrown in to you having an issue with this guy, but hiring him back because he was going to be the best for the team. And then you never focus on that ever again. So why did we have that scene of you yelling at him in your office? And a lot of different parts in the entire film felt that way to me. It wasn't quite as impactful as I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it's the underdog story. I don't know, it just didn't feel fresh, new, or anything to me. I haven't read the book, so I'm just basing it off the movie, but I felt a little let down. It just wasn't all that. It was good, but it was not great. You know what I'm saying? For me, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, and public, I'm going to do 6.5 out of 10 because a lot of people aren't as focused on the minor details as I am, and that's what really took me away from the story. And I just really did not like the ending. I thought it was a little anticlimactic. You didn't even finish up the love story. What the heck was that? The main guy, I find him very attractive, but who the heck decided to dye his hair blonde? You get a seat at the table because what was that? That was one of the worst hair dye jobs I've ever seen. The movie opens and one of the very first shots is of the main lead, and I could not stop thinking about how badly his hair was dyed because he's clearly a brunette. You could see all of his roots. It did not look good. It was not like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. When they dyed his hair blonde, it looked blonde. I mean, in some scenes, we could make the argument that it was pretty clearly a brunette dyed blonde, but it was way better than whatever the crap this was in Boys in the Boat. I was so distracted by his hair that it really took me out of the movie because you're trying to paint this picture that he's super poor and he has no money, but yet he can clearly afford dye because his hair is blonde when it's obviously brown. Like, why did you make that choice? You could have just left him a brunette. I don't understand that particular choice, and I would like to speak to whoever was in charge of that. Here is your formal invite to the table, and I look forward to speaking with you. For anybody that has no idea what I mean by you have an invite to the table, go back and listen to episode 5 titled, If You Need Me, You'll Find Me at Walmart. I explain what I mean by the table analogy. It's pretty funny in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, I'm pretty biased. I was the one that said it, but I've gotten some positive feedback on it. If you want to be in on the inside joke, just go listen to that episode and you will be all caught up. Alright, it is time to move on to our main segment, which is just me reading the random thoughts on my phone. First up, do you all remember the science fair? I was watching Gilmore Girls with my roommate. Spoiler alert if you've never seen it, which if you have not watched Gilmore Girls at this point in your life, what are you doing? get on that train immediately. But Luke's daughter is at the science fair and he goes and like sees her there. And I was just immediately brought back to that time in my life when my poor mother was stressed out of her freaking mind doing my science fair project for me, because heaven knows I didn't give two craps about science. And I remember that I did my project on hydraulics. What the crap? What does that even mean? The only thing that I remember is that it had something to do with water lifting something. I don't know. My dear sweet angel mother really pulled through on that project. All I remember was that it was about hydraulics, and then I was asked to explain my project, and I was like, I actually have no idea what this entire trifold poster board even says. Like, I have no idea what my science project was really about, or what experiment I conducted. Couldn't tell ya. My question is, are they still doing the science fair? I feel like I haven't heard much information about the science fair in a very long time, and I hope for everybody's sake that they discontinued the science fair as a mandatory thing that everyone has to do, because these parents can't handle it. I couldn't handle it as a parent. No, absolutely not. I'm not helping my kid with a science fair project. No, I don't want to. But wow, can we believe we did that? That was crazy. What was your guys' science fair projects? I want to know. I actually remember my friend's siblings' science fair project more than I remember my own, because I went over to her house to like hang out and we had to help with her younger siblings' project. They were testing which diapers were the most absorbent. So we had to like pour the same amount of water and different substances onto each diaper, and then they were measuring it. I couldn't tell you what the winner was, but I do remember doing that for an afternoon. Wow, what a time. This one is so random. I was talking with some coworkers and I was asking if they're the type that slowly peels off a Band-Aid or if they just rip it off. Can we guess which one I am? I bet you all could guess correctly. Yeah, no, I'm ripping that off immediately and it's just gonna be one foul swoop. But my coworker says to me, oh, well, I soak it in water first and then just have it fall off. What? How have I never thought of that before? How has that never occurred to me? To just put some water on it. She's a genius. That was just one of those things where it's like, wow, I've been doing it wrong my whole life. Thank you so much for informing me. There's a restaurant in American Fork. I think it might also be in Provo. Anyways, it's in multiple places around Utah County called Gourmandy's. I really like this restaurant. I feel like it has really good food, but there are no sweet potato fries at this restaurant. And it gives off every single vibe of being the type of restaurant that would have sweet potato fries. So every single time I go in to eat there, which has been quite a few times, I am always baffled why they don't have that on the menu. The black and white tile and the fancy desserts and the waiters coming to my table, all of this is leading me to believe you're an establishment that would have a higher class fry. Why are we without this? Instead, all their side options are these stupid potato chips that are way too crunchy and dry, and then like a bowl of grapes. No, I want some long cut sweet potato fries with that thick salt sprinkled on top. I heard that the owner of these restaurants is Ben Rector's sister. I don't know who she is, but I'd love to speak with you. I think that you could uptick your attendance to your restaurant by at least 10% if you added this very vital menu item. I'm just putting it out there. Everybody who listens to this, start spreading the word. If we all just start complaining and saying how much they need this at their restaurant, maybe we can make real change happen. I believe in us. I really do. Power to the people. I need sweet potato fries at Gourmandy's, please and thank you. Sticking on the topic of food for just a second longer. Okay, so I do HelloFresh. This is not an ad. If HelloFresh would like to sponsor me, the answer is yes. But I do HelloFresh for many, many reasons, which I will get into on another episode. But in HelloFresh, I really like that they have all of the sauces and stuff, so I don't have to measure anything out. But all of the sour cream stuff and the different sauces, they come in those stupid triangle packages. Why? Why is that a thing? Because you rip it and it makes a mess every time. You know what I'm talking about? Like the triangle sour cream. How is that ergonomic in any way? It's not. with the little crimp on the top and the bottom. No, I will put a picture on the Instagram so you know exactly what I'm talking about. It actually makes me physically upset every single time I have to open one of those, because the sour cream or whatever mixture is inside is spraying somewhere from my first little cut of the triangle, and then when I'm trying to squeeze it out, it just makes a mess. So if someone could get on that, I'd really appreciate it. It's frustrating me each and every day, and I would love for it to end. You know what we haven't been talking about enough? The rise and fall of Ellen DeGeneres. Where is that documentary? Why is it not out yet? Because I want to watch it. I want to see her rise to fame and then fall from grace during the COVID pandemic. I mean, that really came out of nowhere for me personally. I was raised believing that Ellen DeGeneres was, the greatest woman, sweetest, nicest, whatever. So it was really sad and shocking to me to have her fall. And I would really appreciate someone explaining to me how that all happened. I want past employees to be interviewed, and I want the ones that are scared to be interviewed, where they have to black out their face and distort their voice so they can really give us the real and the raw of what it was like to work for her. Please, why is this not being filmed? We already have so many documentaries about so many things. Where is Ellen DeGeneres? I need that documentary. Sorry a lot of these have to do with TV, but you all know that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is watching shows, so a lot of my opinions revolve around them. But Apple TV Plus, can we really trust their top 10? Because they only have 15 shows on there. So I feel like they're not as reliable when they say these are the top 10 things on Apple TV. Well, when you have such a small selection that you're choosing from, they're all making it into the top 10. There is nothing on there. There are 5 shows and 5 movies. That's it. That is all that's on there. It makes me giggle every time I open up that app, because I want to show some variety, because I know people have that channel and I spend a lot of time watching things on Netflix or on Hulu, but they have just so much more variety than Apple TV Plus. I'm going to need you to produce things a little bit faster, or maybe team up with another streaming service. I don't know, but you got to figure your crap out. But when you're telling me that these are your top 10 shows, I don't believe you. Just speaking the truth. Speaking of documentaries, Armie Hammer. Did you all know that Armie Hammer had a documentary made called House of Hammer, all about his family and how he's a horrible, terrible person and he's a cannibal? Yeah, I didn't know that either. I have it on my watch list. I haven't watched it yet, so when I do, I'll make sure to let you know. They have interviews of his past girlfriends and victims and family members and all of this stuff, proving that he is this horrible monster. Again, I haven't seen it yet, so at least that's what I got from the trailer. But wow, was this buried? Why was there not more publicity for this? I think it really just goes to show that the media will push what they want to push. And it is possible to get things just wiped from the internet. I mean, this whole documentary was made and we don't even know about it. We can't even find it anywhere. Doesn't that feel suspicious to anybody else? I recently saw a video of a little boy seeing his mom play the piano, and he had no idea that his mom could play the piano. He was 5 years old or something, and he kept being like, how do you know how to do this? It was just this really fun reminder that, his mom had this entire life previous to his 5 years of life, where she developed skills and learned things. And it just made me reflect on a similar moment that I had with my dad. When I was a teenager, my youth group, we went to classic skating in Orem, and my dad was, I don't remember what his calling was at the time, but he was with the youth. So he came and he put on the skates, not the rollerblades, but actual skates, the 4 wheels with the little stoppers in the front. He put those on and he gets out on the rink, and this man, this computer guy who was so introverted and quiet and, could stay inside all day long and be perfectly content and happy, was freaking going around this classic skating rink like it was his profession. I was just slack-jawed. I was like, what? Since when can my dad rollerblade and skate? Turns out my dad had grown up just right down the street from classic skating, and him and his siblings would go and skate all the time. And one of his very first dates with my mom, he took her skating and like jumped off a ramp to impress her. Isn't it just wild to learn these kind of things about your parents? You're like, you were not the person I thought you were. And when he was just skating backwards, I was like, who are you right now? You are not my father. And I shouldn't have been as surprised because I'd seen him ski before, and my dad is a really good skier, just shockingly good, at least shocking to me as his daughter. But yeah, that was jarring to say the least when I saw him skating around the rink, and it just reminded me of that little boy looking at his mom in disbelief, being like, when did you learn this? How do you know this? That's exactly how I felt. Recently, I've been trying to drink more water. You know, I have my Awala water bottle, also not a sponsor, but would love to get them on the pod sponsoring me. But I love my Awala. It's amazing. 10 out of 10 experience. Love, love, love. But what is the point of me drinking all of this water if it just means I have to pee every 10 seconds? Oh my Lanta. I hate it so much. It doesn't feel like I'm winning in any capacity. I'm hydrated? Well, at what cost? Because I feel like I can't live my life anymore because I just have to pee all the time. It's interrupting everything. It's a nightmare. Everybody out here that's like, I try and drink a gallon a day. I want you to tell me how many times you're using the bathroom a day, because is it really worth it? I'm having a hard time seeing that it is. Okay, this is gonna be random. Not that all of the other things weren't, but this one in particular, I just need to share this story, okay? Because I have so many ideas just bouncing around in my head at any given point in time. Ask me for my ideas and I will have them. Give me a topic, I'll have an idea for it. I'm an idea person, which is why I really love supervising, because I love coming up with the idea and then handing out the jobs for how to execute it. I'm not really much of a hands-on, get in the nitty-gritty type. I mean, I guess it depends on what it is. I'm more of a leader than a follower. I can be in the follower position. That's okay. That's not a problem. I think the best leaders in the world are ones that are really good followers and are humble followers. I don't know if I necessarily would ever call myself humble. If I'm just being totally for real and honest. It's something I'm working on for sure. But if someone else is in charge, I have a lot of respect for authority and for knowing your place and, you know, giving everybody a chance. But if you put me in that prime position of leadership, I will show up and I'll be there early with a clipboard in hand and probably an Excel spreadsheet and a list of ideas that we should execute, okay? Especially when it comes to church things. Oh, don't even get me started. Do not even get me freaking started, because I have ideas on ideas on ideas. I personally believe that we could fix many problems. Many. And there's a lot. There's a lot of problems, okay? But I am here to help. And there was a particular issue that I decided I would just tackle on my own. This is a while back. This is a couple years ago. But I feel like now enough time has passed that it's time to share the story, because I still stand by my idea and I wish that we could still execute it today. I'm in a singles ward, a single congregation with people ages 18 to about 32. And in my particular area, I'm in an older crowd. Older, put in air quotes, meaning 25 to about 31. I mean, I'm sure there's younger people in my congregation as well. I just don't hang out with them nearly as much as I do people who are near my age and in their 30s. Anyways, I was in the Relief Society presidency at this time. We were talking about how to improve ministering. Okay, you have these assignments of these people, men and women, assigned to you, you're assigned to others, to just help each other out, be friends. I think it's wonderful. I am actually so down for assigned friends. It's not even funny. Absolutely. Sign me up. Who wants to be my friend? Please come over and visit with me. I am absolutely down for that any day, anytime. I understand it's not for everybody, but I do think the concept of being a nice person and being a friend to those around you should be for everybody. And the assignments, I think, narrow it down, make it a little easier, a little less broad, but whatever. That's my own personal opinion. That's not the point. The point is, we were trying to figure out how to improve ministering with the brothers, all right? How to get them to minister to us, because they really weren't doing it. None of these women in the ward were having the men that are assigned to them minister to them. All these women were around complaining, saying, well, they never, say hi to me, and I don't even know who they are, and they don't care about me, and blah, blah, blah. Which, okay, totally valid. They're not interacting. But ladies, it is 2024, okay? These men are freaking stupid out here, all right? What if, stick with me here, what if you reached out to him and said, hi, I'm Mackenzie, you're assigned to me. I just thought I'd say hi. Do you know how motivating that would be for one of these men, all right? Not for all of them, but for some, for the good ones, absolutely. Allow them a chance to get to know you instead of forcing it always on them. So I believe this deeply, and I'm pitching this idea. I was like, well, what if we had all the sisters send out texts to their ministering brothers to introduce themselves, And then, of course, that was like, what? No, they need to come to us. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then let's just continue this horrible cycle then. That sounds like fun, of just everybody complaining all around and not doing anything about it, all right? No, take the reins, ladies. If he doesn't want to do it, fine, but let that be on him. So amidst this conversation, I was like, man, it would be really great if the guys had an opportunity to serve the sisters. Something that we could ask for, some sort of manual labor to make them, feel all manly or whatever, boost their ego. I'm fine to play into that a little bit. That's fine. The gender stereotypes, although I don't really believe in them, sometimes, you gotta give a little to get a little. All right. I thought, well, what if we played into that? What if there was some task that we could all ask the guys to complete? That way we could get to know them and they could get to know us, and they would feel useful and helpful, and we would show them that we're willing to ask for their help. I think it'd be great all around. This was my plan. I have this friend in the ward, and she has a mini fridge that she is not using currently, doesn't need it. She doesn't quite know what to do with it. I was like, what if we have this mini fridge travel around the ward and we don't let the guys in on it, but we pass it from apartment to apartment, and you're forced to call your ministering brothers to help move it to the next apartment. I know some people will think I'm crazy, but I still truly believe this was a stroke of genius. Okay, so we get this mini fridge, and I decide to put a notebook inside one of the little drawers, so that way we make sure that nobody's repeating, right? You can't have the guys catching on. So we start it, and I ask my ministering brothers to go and get it from my friend's house. And I had never met one of them before, one of the guys that I asked. It gave me an opportunity to text them. They bring it over. Then we got chit-chatting. We got to know each other, and it was great. Then after it was delivered to me, wait a few days, and I find who wants it next. Those girls in that apartment, they then contact their ministering brothers and say, hey, we have this super heavy mini fridge, because it was pretty big. We need help getting it to our apartment. In classic fashion, their ministering brothers come over to my apartment, so I get to meet them, my roommates get to meet them, we're getting to know new people in the ward, new guys in the ward, but most importantly, those women are meeting their ministering brothers, and they're feeling really helpful and useful. That ends up happening for months on end. This mini fridge was passed around from apartment to apartment by these duos of ministering brothers. Oh my gosh, to witness this happening and having the women be in on this, I want you all to know that this mini fridge brought about so many good interactions, and I really want to do it again. My ultimate goal is to do this type of thing until my mini fridge or whatever item that we select is the catalyst for a marriage. Okay, that is my ultimate goal. I want two people to meet because of this idea, and I want them to fall in love and get married. I would love it if it was me, but even if it's not me, I think it would be the most hilarious but cute story ever. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't see any parts of this that are wrong in any way. I mean, yes, slightly deceptive on not telling the guys, but it's for their own good. So everybody who has a problem with that, you cannot listen to this podcast, because you know what? If you're going to be a hater, fine. That's fine. Have a better moral compass than me. That's cool. To anybody that wants to steal my idea, feel free. Don't be surprised if one day I execute this idea again and you read it in some church publication, you know, the Liahona or something, of some tale of the mini fridge. Would that not be the most delightful article? I would love it so much. Yeah, I am full of these types of ideas, all right? I have so many, and I really believe in them. It's just really hard getting other people on board with me. You know, that's my biggest issue, is convincing everybody else that it's a good idea. In this case, it did work, and it was very well executed, and I found it equally funny and productive. So, you know, if you want my ideas on anything, hit me up. And, you know, if anybody higher up in the church would like me on a council to tell you how to run things, I'm mic'd up and ready to go. I got ideas written for days, and I do think we can improve some things around here, for sure. Yeah, there's some room for improvement, and I can show you which rooms and how we should redo them. So I'm just waiting for my moment when I can make that happen. And on that note, I think we're gonna end for today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, this was so fun. Just so you know a little bit more of the agenda of coming up episodes, next week we are going to have my friend Sunny, who is very famous in the Philippines. Her and her family are pop stars in the Philippines. It is such a fun story. So you're going to get to hear all about how that came to be and about her music career. She is the one that did the intro song to my podcast. So even if you haven't heard of her, you have heard her, because you listen to this podcast. Then on the 26th, that one's going to be a bit different of an episode, so I'm just warning you now. That one is going to be me reading my grief diaries, or my grief analogies. When my friends passed away in 2020, I found a lot of comfort in writing, and I wrote analogies to really express how I felt and the emotions that I was going through, because they were all new to me. And I wanted to find a way to describe them to other people who have never been through that type of grief journey. So I've decided that I'm going to release that one on July 26th, because on July 27th is my friend Jake's birthday, and he is one of my friends that passed in that car accident. So I'm always looking for a way to just honor him around that time, and I'm always in my feels. You know, birthdays and holidays and different significant events can be difficult after someone's passed away. So this year I really want to honor him and to honor Maddie by releasing my grief diaries that I've worked really hard on, and I hope that it's something that's uplifting for people, but also very validating for those that have lost loved ones. I just want it to be an episode that's comforting and enlightening to people. So that one's going to be a much different vibe, a bit more serious. So I just wanted to warn you about that beforehand. And then I have some amazing guests lined up into next month that I'm really excited for you guys to meet and hear their stories. We have my one friend Kira, who got married when she was young, got divorced, and is now remarried. I have my aunt coming on, and that's going to be so fun. My friend Ellie, who's a solo traveler, and she just recently came back from a few-week trip in Turkey. Really get ready for the next couple months, and hopefully my plan is at the end of August, early September, I'm going to start my Sunday episodes, which are just going to be my Sunday analogies that I talked about in my episode with my friend Nikki. Those are coming soon too. I'm just working on those. Lots of good things on the horizon. If you are enjoying the podcast and if you're excited about what's coming next, please let me know. Leave me a review, rate the podcast, and I will see you all next week to listen to my thoughts on life, because this has been Life According to Nikki.